So, welcome back to our quarantine kitchen, where today we're making the ultimate roast leg of lamb. And we're going to marinate that with oregano, fresh thyme, home smoked garlic, lemon zest, cold pressed British rapeseed oil, salt and pepper, and that's the marinade for our 2.2 kilo joint of leg of lamb. That's going to be absolutely gorgeous. Now anyway, I think what we need to do now is just wash our hands. Nice and clean. So on with the marinade. First of all, we need to take 17 millilitres of the rapeseed oil. Pour that directly into the mixer. Then take 2 strips of lemon zest. Pop those in too. Then we need 5 cloves of that lovely smoked garlic. That'll add a fantastic depth of flavour. But don't worry, if you haven't got smoked garlic, you can use normal garlic. Just instead of using 5 cloves, just use 3 cloves of normal garlic. Then in with the dried oregano, 1 teaspoon. And then because we're using fresh thyme, about a tablespoonful of thyme. If you're using dried, about a teaspoon. Then 1 teaspoon of salt. And then 20 twists of fresh black pepper. Then on with the lid, and we're ready to blend. Here you'll see I'm using a NutriBullet style blender. Obviously we've all got one left over from that vain attempt of trying to go onto a smoothie diet. I think mine lasted about 5 minutes, so I got bored of it. And then we give it a really good whiz until it's nicely blended. That looks like it's had enough. So now we pour that into a jar, ready for marinating our lamb. We want to make sure the consistency is nice and even. It makes marinating just that bit easier. To marinate the lamb, we're going to need to lay out a sheet of parchment paper about the same sort of size as our lamb. Then we lay out a few blobs of our marinade. I'm not trying out for some new art attack. This is actually hopefully going to be in about the same sort of shape as our lamb joint when it's laying down. Give it a good bit of contact with the marinade. So then place the lamb so it corresponds with my beautiful artwork. Usually the flat side of the lamb down first. Then what we need to do is just make some scores into the lamb, just so that we can get that marinade deep into it. I'd like to add as well that actually leaning sideways whilst using a very sharp knife is probably not the safest thing to do, but whilst you're filming, it's the only way to do it, because trust me, you don't want to see me in the video. Now it's time to add the marinade. Now use about half the marinade and make sure you get into all those nooks and crannies we've just cut into the lamb. Now flip the joint over, which is easier said than done, and place down and score again like you did the other side. Then use the remainder of the leftover marinade on this side of the lamb too. At this point you'll notice that it's much easier to use your hands than a spatula. Now all the marinade's on, it's time to wrap it up as tight as we can. After you've wrapped up the lamb in the paper, we're now going to wrap it up in some cling film as well. So roll out some cling film, put the joint in the middle of the cling film, and wrap it as tightly as you can again. Here you can see me demonstrating how a life as a YouTuber is not as safe as I thought, where I nearly cut my wrists. Please be careful whilst doing this process. Now that you've beautifully wrapped your joint up, it's time to pop it in the fridge for 5 hours to marinate. Once marinated, take the joint out of the fridge for an hour before cooking at 140 degrees Celsius, and then after an hour and a half, take all of the wrapping off and turn it up to 220 to give it that lovely crisp finish that we expect from our beautiful lamb joint. So the joint's out the oven, it's been rested for 20 minutes. All that's left to do is serve it up with some of our favourite accompaniments. In our house, we love to eat this with roast potatoes, carrots, and all the trimmings. I hope you enjoyed that. Look forward to seeing you next time, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.